Yo, what's going on, my people? It's your boy Chris, and I'm back. I wanted to talk more about learning for specific use cases and learning with a goal, because I do think when it comes down to it, learning by itself is already tough, but I think it could be a lot easier to gauge your skill level and where you are when you're learning with a specific goal or specific intention of applying what you've learned after you've learned what you've learned. That's word salad, but let me see if I could try and restate what I'm saying. Essentially, learning comes down to two steps, in my opinion. At least if you want to solidify it into your brain, you're gonna have your observation step, which is, I like to call it the soaking step, where you're basically soaking in the information. And these can be anything from your studies, observing other people's art, the sketches you do, or just some notes that you take that kind of apply to what you're trying to learn, whether it's anatomy, color theory, or perspective, whatever. You're basically learning a lot in this phase, and you're trying to absorb everything that you can regarding this the subject. Because then I think the next step is super pivotal, and I don't know if a lot of people do this next step, but I think it's really important to make sure you're applying what you've learned to some sort of project, because that's where you're going to really cement a lot of these concepts, I believe, at least. If you're learning just to learn, that's all well and good. I do think that works too, but it's always easier to have a benchmark of what you're trying to go for, or have a goal in mind of what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it. It's very easy to motivate or to stay on track when you're trying to learn something for the specific use in a project, right? For instance, say you're making some sort of fighting scene or fighting graphic novel or whatever, right? I was gonna say game, but graphic novel makes sense here. Say you're making some sort of fighting graphic novel, but it's like, oh wow, I have no idea how to tackle action poses, perspective, or anatomy, right? Well, now you know that this is the stuff that I need to learn. I need to learn action poses, I need to learn, dynamic poses, I need to learn perspective, I need to learn anatomy, that you could then funnel back into that project. And it'll be a lot easier for you to gauge your growth as you're doing your studies, when you're able to then take what you've learned and apply it to specific scenes in your graphic novel, right? Over the course of however long, whether it's a 3-month period of studies, whether it's a 6-month period or a year or however long, it doesn't matter how long, but learning with the specific intention to put it back into something, I think leads to a lot more effective retention of the information, a lot more cemented retention of the information as well. When we're talking about being able to recall something, in my experience, and this is like separate from art, but it happens in art too. Say you're trying to pick up a new skill, right? Like you're trying to pick up a new skill. A lot of times it's way more effective to try your hand at something first and try to figure it out on your own before going straight to a tutorial, because you're going to work your own brain on trying to figure it out. And then once you can't figure something out, that's when you go to the tutorial and you look up your specific issue to then try and fix or rectify the issue you're running into. And essentially what I just described to you is learning programming in game dev. Because a lot of times the general consensus when it comes to learning, like say programming in game dev, is you don't want to like just follow tutorials willy-nilly without kind of understanding what you're doing. It's way better to learn the specific parts of what you need for your use case, and try and build everything as much as you can from your own self, because someone else could be doing it a way that maybe makes sense for them, but for your workflow it may not work. Now I'm going to apply back to art. This is the same kind of concept, right? You want to try and at least attempt to understand something, and you're not going to succeed on like your first or second try, because I mean, hey, if you're just starting out, the whole point is to learn. So it's like, I get it, you're not going to be great, but it is good to at least try and stretch your brain to figure out the concept before going to tutorial and then just consuming tutorial after tutorial. It's like, don't just consume a tutorial without like a purpose for it, Like say you're doing a project, but maybe you aren't going that fast, right? You're not going that fast at drawing. So, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch a tutorial specifically on how to speed up, because I want to have enough time to study, do my project, and also stick to my deadline that I set for myself, right? That's just an example, but so I'm going to study tutorials on how people are drawing faster, right? You're solving a specific problem that funnels back into something that you're working on. And those concepts are going to be a lot more cemented, because you're going to apply them, right? And again, this thing, it's definitely just my opinion when it comes down to it. It's been how I learn a lot of things, to be honest with you though. Have a project that I have in mind that I want to do, and then try and do it on my own first. But then once I get stuck at a roadblock, that's when I look for help, forums or online at tutorials, right? I just think that helped me a lot. It did help me a lot when it came to learning specific things, anatomy, when it came to learning game dev stuff, when it came to learning 3D art, right? All of this stuff, it works across the board. So I just think having a project at the bottom line that you can funnel all of your practice reps into really will help. It really will help. And again, staying accountable on your projects, that's a whole other video I could kind of get into, but that is important too. You kind of need to know how to navigate that, whether it's outside parties that are involved. For example, a lot of this anatomy stuff outside of, me wanting to put it into a project, a lot of the projects for the anatomy stuff happen to be YouTube videos too, right? Those are considered projects to me, but it helps, right? It helps, and it's a good way of keeping myself accountable. But that's just an example, right? Bing Bong's Prison Palace is another accountability project, but it was a project in a different way where I was really practicing scope and execution specifically in workflows to speed up all of my processes for creating a game, right? And that took a year. Or well, the deadline was a year, but technically I finished below that. I finished a little earlier than expected. But yeah, just things like that really they're important, and I think, you kind of want to make sure you're not just learning just to learn, but you're learning for a specific purpose. And when I say project, they don't need to be projects that you're planning on publishing or projects that you plan on trying to make profit out of. But I just mean projects like, okay, you're taking what you learned and then you're applying it. It's the applying part that I think really does help. So I hope I didn't say things. I hope I wasn't redundant. There you go. I hope I wasn't redundant in a lot of this. I just do want to make sure that, I'm saying this and that, people are, listening that, hey, listen, projects help, like just learning anatomy alone may not be the most effective way, because maybe you'll get, demotivated, right? And then it's like, oh, or there goes, learning anatomy. I think a project also helps you kind of stay accountable. And yeah, we'll talk about, setting projects and setting goals in another video, because I think that's a whole entirely different topic. But I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here for this one. I appreciate everyone for keeping up with me and staying linked in with me. Studies will be posted on Sunday at 12 as always. Again, Bing Bong's Prison Palace. Thank you for all who've been checking that out. Page is doing pretty well. I appreciate everyone, coming through and following and, liking the post. I appreciate that. And we're going to be coming back real soon with another video. But I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, night, or whatever. And it's been your boy, Chris, and I'm out. Peace.